From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm good. Can you see me okay and hear me?
I can. You're looking sharp.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I got my glasses so I can see you.
Oh, nice. Do you like the glasses? Is that the new look for you?
No, it's just so I can see you.
Oh, okay.
So it's because I just use reading glasses.
Oh, nice.
And so I can see you much clearer. But if I lean back, I can see you. But
oh, nice. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it, man.
Man, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Hey,
go ahead.
Yeah, and by the way, is there a delay in this conversation in the recording?
No. I could hear you fine. I just think we were just over. But yeah.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a quick question because you said you were in New Mexico. And you don't have to tell me exactly where you live, but you're not in the alien area, are you? Like the Roswell?
No, no. I'm north of that, way north. I'm in northern New Mexico. I'm in the mountains, in the woods.
Yeah.
In a log cabin in the woods.
So I do stand up, and I did stand up in Roswell, and I just thought everyone there was just like kind of crazy.
Oh, that's funny. I know someone from Roswell, but I have never been there.
Oh, nice.
That's very south, and it gets very hot in the summer. I know that.
So I wanted to ask you because I know you started as a stand-up, like you did stand-up, and then when you did acting, you stopped doing stand-up, and I just wanted to know, like, what was that transition for you? Like, how long did you do stand-up for?
Yeah, that was just a very short time. It was the way I got the first time I got on stage. And it was at the Improv in New York City. It was the late 70s, like 77, something like that. And all the big comics that you know of came through the Improv at that time. And I was childhood friends with Keenan Wayans.
Yeah.
And I remember right after high school, I went to Florida to live with my mom. She wanted me to move down there, so I went to check it out. But I was back to New York in 6 months, and then Kenan had gone to college in Tuskegee, and he figured out. And so one day so when I got back to New York about 6 months later, I was walking down the street, and I ran into Kenan, which is crazy to, run into someone in New York just down the street. And we ran into each other, and we were like, what have you been up to? And we got caught up, and we both told each other that we were considering doing comedy.
Yeah.
It was actually at the same time. So we both just went and started going to the clubs, especially the Improv. And Kenan was really taking off with that, and I started it, and it was great because it was great because I did it, and then I caught the bug, but at the same time, Freddie Prinze, you're pretty young, but Freddie Prinze,
he was like the youngest comic, and then he unfortunately took his own life.
Correct. But he was on top of the world when I was thinking about being a comedian. And I was very similar. I was just a little younger than him, but we were both New York Puerto Ricans coming up. And then he went and he was just shot up so big as you can be very quickly. And then he had his issues and killed himself. And when that happened, I was just like, man, he was so good. And I didn't think I was as good as he was. So I just didn't think that there was a place for another New York Puerto Rican comic at the time that anybody would just be compared to him. And I wasn't as good as him. So I said, you know what? Let me see if I can figure something else out. And I started going to taking in Broadway shows in New York.
Wow.
And that's when it hit me that maybe I could use the comedic talent or ability that I had and the timing that I had at that time, used it as an actor. And that's what I did. I just decided I'm not going to be a stand-up. I'm going to be an actor and use it there. And it worked out.
I'm sorry. What was the year that you did comedy? Because I wanted to tell you a story on how I knew you did stand up, and I forgot.
Well, I'm curious how you knew that. Not many people know that. That was about 1977, towards 78, something like that.
Okay, so I knew that because I used to tour with Norm Macdonald for 9 years.
Wow.
And when we were in the hotels and stuff, we'd watch movies and stuff and write. And we watched White Chicks. And I got a lot of White Chicks questions. We'll talk about White Chicks later. But we were watching White Chicks, and Norm did a movie with your partner. What's his name? Lachlan?
Oh, Lachlan Monroe.
Yeah, he did a movie with Lachlan. And then he said, Eddie used to do stand-up. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, he was so great. And then we tried to find your stand-up and we couldn't find it. So I thought he was fucking with me. So that's how I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Because, I feel once a stand-up, always a stand-up, what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it was a great experience to get up on stage and deal with. I remember the first time getting hit with that bright light. I couldn't see anybody in the audience. But, once you get past that first time, how was it for you? When did you start?
I started when I was 15. And
wow.
It was very, because I have autism, so I was very nonverbal. So it was very hard the first 5-6 years.
Wow.
But yeah, it's one of those things where like I probably started stand up to do acting, but then like the longer I did stand up, the less I wanted to do acting.
Right.
So we have opposite journeys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I found was that I loved comedy, everything about it, but I saw that I was not generating material fast enough. And ironically, that what turned out to be one of Freddie Prinze's insecurities was that he had felt he was so overexposed that everyone knew all his material and he didn't have any new material. And so that added to his paranoia and what happened to him. But I just figured that wasn't going to be my path, just straight stand up, because I was I went to the High School of Art and Design in New York and when I got into that school with my minimal artistic abilities, and I got accepted. But once I was in there, that's where you really see true artists all around you, and you measure, and you see how you measure up. Same thing happened there. I knew I was not as good of an illustrator as a lot of the people. So I tried to figure out how to use my little abilities. So I thought I'd go into advertising art, mechanical drawing. I could do that. But at the same time, I was getting interested in film while I was in high school. And my best friend, his major was motion picture making, while mine was advertising. So I used to cut my class and go to his class.
Wow.
I loved his class better. And that's the first time that I got to play with filmmaking. And they would film me doing little bits. And that's the first time I saw myself on camera. And then I took a class there, an elective called Film Appreciation. And it just took off from there that, it took over film, wanting to be a film actor,
Do you think that like college classes like that, because like I wish I took advertising or marketing, because it's such a big play nowadays. But when I went to school, when I went to college, it really wasn't a big play. You know what I mean? But now it's like a huge, like you're not famous unless you have 1,000 million followers.
Right. It's crazy. And I have zero, because I'm not on any social media at all.
Well, you have me. I'm your follower. I like you.
Oh, that's it. You're it. You're the one.
Uh,
That's
so
cool. Hey, by the way, that since you bring that up, how did I become a subject for your podcast? How did decide on me?
well, because I just really enjoy interviewing people, and Norm's death was actually his anniversary of his death was in September, and his birthday was a couple weeks ago, and he was like my best friend. He was like my dad.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And like I just get these memories, and then I just remember we were watching White Chicks, and then he said he saw you do stand up, and he said you were great. And I
Wow.
was like, oh my God, I would love to interview him. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's awesome.
So it's just little paths like that. You know what I mean? And then I think you're a great actor. You're in the movies. You always are. I like to call it a scene stealer. You know what I mean?
Really? Thanks. That's funny.
Yeah.
Funny. That's
But
funny. My first job was on a soap, and I was playing like a young assistant district attorney, and I was like, I was I was prosecuting a senator, but I had this scene with what is this old actor. Anyway, he was an old Western actor.
John Wayne.
No, Rory Calhoun.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my 30th guess.
Yeah. That was I had this scene with Rory Calhoun, but he made a point of after our scene, he made a point of telling everyone, "Watch this guy; he's going to steal the scene." So I just, I was just doing the scene. I wasn't trying to steal the scene, but I took it as a compliment. I thought he meant that I was doing a good job. But I'm not sure.
No, for sure. That because I think when people watch not just movies, but even like TV shows and stuff, I feel if they could relate to a character, even in that moment, I feel like regardless if you're a good guy or a bad guy, they kind of root for you. Like on A-Team, like you were the guy. I know you showed up in the 4th or the 5th season, but you were the guy that like, you're like the cool guy. You know what I mean?
Well, that was a fun show to do, obviously.
Yeah.
Just I played the character like as if he was excited to be running around with the A-Team, like any young guy might be,
Yeah.
So I showed up on the set happy-go-lucky and ready to have fun and go on an adventure.
Yeah. That's got to be like either the best set or the craziest set. You know what I mean? Because
it was interesting. It was kind of both. Because it's funny because when I got there, I came in the 5th season. They gave the show one more season because the ratings had been going down. But from what I understood, the network kind of owed a little bit back to the producers because the A-Team at one point was the only hit NBC had, and the A-Team needed exactly like 13 episodes to make 100 so they can go into syndication.
Oh, 100 was the syndication back then?
Yeah. So the network said, okay, we'll let you do the 13 more, but you're going to have to change the show up a little bit, spice it up, do something because the ratings were going down. So they brought me in and Robert Vaughn and changed this format a little bit. And I had, when I arrived there, from what I understood, was that Mr. T and Peppard they were clashing or had been. They weren't even talking to each other.
Really? Oh,
yeah. But they were both nice to me, Peppard took me under his wing right away and was real sweet. And Mr. T was the same way.
Yeah.
So I got along with them, but they didn't, from what But it was, it was too bad. I don't know what it was over, but other than that, I think that it was just a clash of personalities. You have Peppard, who was this old time, movie star, and he was the lead in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. T was not an actor, but he was really the star of the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that fun? Like, yeah, because like you watch Mr. T and you're right, he's not the best actor, but in everything he does, he's that guy you watch.
Right, right. So the other thing that I think made them clash was that Mr. T, he was a funny guy. I think he was basically a comedian because everything he was saying, it was outrageous, but I think it was all for laughs to get people around him. He had me laughing all day long. And but he would curse a lot. He was, motherfucker this, motherfucker, every other word was motherfucker, motherfucker, motherfucker. And Peppard wasn't used to having a guy on the set cursing all day long at the top of his lungs. So I think, and from what I heard, was that he tried to get the producers to kind of shut him up a little bit, and that made it worse.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mr. T would do the opposite when things like that happen.
But see, that's the thing. Like when you have that personality, you know what I mean? Like where I don't want to say attention seeking or whatever, but when you have that personality and someone tries to shut you up, the thing they're going to do is go back to talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what happened. That's what happened. He would just rant all day long. It was so hilarious.
And was Repo Man before AT or was that after?
That was before. It was actually my first movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was my first movie, and I was just in town my first year, and I was doing was what every young actor should do, is to try to get, you want to be an actor, you got to act. So whether it's little theaters or little independent movies or college productions, and that's what happened. I auditioned for this movie that was being made out of UCLA, and it turned out to be Repo Man. Alex Cox was a student at UCLA when he was trying to make it as a student film.
Yeah.
And then I auditioned, and then I didn't hear anything for a year. A year later, they called me and they said, "Hey, we remember we're bringing in people that we liked from back then because it's now a SAG feature."
Wow.
And by then I was SAG. I had already gotten a job, so I would say, "Great, great," and they brought me back in and played the role. But it was something I didn't hear about for a year. I just forgot about it. And it came back, and it still plays. It's crazy.
Yeah, Repo Man is one of those like cult classic movies where like I mean I wasn't alive when it came out, but it just seems like maybe it wasn't like the best box office movie, but like it's really built fans over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people love it.
Yeah. Like holy Lord, just taking cars and then you did Repo Chick, didn't you?
Oh, Repo Chick, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, years later, Alex Cox, he came up with this movie, Repo Chick. He's always wanted to do a follow-up, but that wasn't really a sequel to Repo Man. So from the last I heard was that he would still like to do a sequel to the original Repo Man. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That would be.
Do you think, are you one of those guys where like, do you feel sequels kind of kill the original, or do you just like
Well, they could, and it seems like they usually do, but they didn't with The Godfather, or I don't know what other what other sequels worked out great, but maybe Batman sequels. There's some that are better than the first,
like The Dark Knight or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it can work or not,
as long as it has you in it, right?
That's all that matters.
And then I wanted to ask you about Split Decisions with Gene Hackman, because you were a boxer in that, and you were like the bad guy. And how is that? Because like Gene Hackman's like an acting legend.
Oh, I know. I love Gene Hackman too, right? He's so great. I really wanted that part because I had been a boxer when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
Coming out of New York, I was training at the Maritime Union Building with Sandy Sadler. He's a former featherweight champ, and I actually, I was about 17, and I wanted to get into the '76 Olympics as a boxer, but at the same time, I was like I said, I was going to art school, and it was like my last year, and I really had to commit. Well, are you gonna be a fighter? Or are you gonna finish high school, art school? And so I just said no. I just said no. I can't. I'm not gonna be a fighter. I'm gonna just finish high school and go that route. And then when I went into the military, I went to the Air Force. I was doing theater by then. And then one day I started getting the urge to go to the gym and box a little and just I got the urge again. And so I did go to a gym and then a boxing gym. And then while I was there, some guy walked in off the street and they put him in the ring with me to see what he had.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, it turned out he was really good. And he punched me right in the nose. And I didn't even see it coming. I was like, and then it was like, I was fighting for my life because you don't want to quit. So,
right.
I was, oh no, I was really fighting this dude. And then it was over. And when I went home, I said, that's it. I quit my boxing career again because I said, are you going to be an actor or are you going to be a fighter with a broken nose? When he didn't break it, I was like, wow, okay, I better quit now while I'm ahead. So I quit again. And then a few years later, I get Split Decisions in which I got to play a professional fighter. And here's the deal. When I auditioned, I had to do the acting audition, and then they sent me to meet with Paul Stater. He's an old-time stunt coordinator and stuntman. He was John Wayne's stuntman, actually, and Johnny Weissmuller and a bunch of people. But they sent me to meet with him so that he could then see if I could fight. I had to audition for fighting. And he put me through, hitting the bag and all this stuff. And while I was there at his house in his gym, and he's testing me out, he got a phone call, and I said, and he came back. He went away, and then he came back, and he said that was Carlos Palomino, former middleweight champ, I believe he was. And it turns out that it was between me and Carlos Palomino for the role. So they were trying to decide whether to go with a fighter who can act a little or an actor who can box. And he had to tell the guy, he just got off the phone after telling Carlos Palomino that I was good enough to get the role. He had to break it to him. He was calling to see how I was doing.
Yeah.
And he had to tell him, he can fight. That he had to give me the good score and recommend me for the role.
Isn't that cool that that's how you got cast? They didn't just say, all right, you guys fight it out.
Oh man, I still feel like I beat the champ though.
Yeah, like holy Lord, I would be scared shitless regardless if I was a good fighter or not. If I'm fighting like that's kind of like fighting Tyson, it's like
Oh yeah. Did you see? Yeah. Did you see the Tyson fight by chance?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
what did you think of it?
Well, I just you immediately saw that he was too old, but my gut feeling in the beginning was that the kid was going to take it because he's 27 years old. You can't get past that.
Yeah.
But Tyson is still Tyson, and he's not Tyson, but what he used to be. But I remember George Foreman's one of his last fights against Michael Mora. He was getting knocked around by Michael Mora the whole fight, and then all of a sudden, boom, he stuck one right hand on his chin, and Michael Mora went down.
I remember that. Like he blacked out, didn't he?
Oh, he was out. It was so crazy.
Yeah, I remember.
It was weird. So crazy how he knocked them out so cleanly. But so I finally did that movie and got the boxing urge and itch out of my system with that movie. Because we shot for 5 days at this LA Sports Arena, 15 hours a day, and it's just me bobbing and weaving shooting 8 rounds of footage. And for the first 6 or 7 rounds, right, I'm beating the guy up.
Yeah.
And then the last round, I'm just taking punches. I just taking punches. I remember I get hung up on the ropes, and I counted 50 punches that I get hit after I'm hung up on the ropes. In real life, that wouldn't be allowed, but in a movie, they wanted me to really get pummeled because I was the bad guy.
Did you ever lose count? Well, like you said you had to get hit 50 times. Where you're just like, oh my God, is this 30 or 40?
Oh no, no! It was even more than that. No, I'm just saying when I watched the movie,
Okay.
I can see myself getting hit 50 times. I counted it, 50 punches.
That would just be painful. I mean, I know it's a movie, and I know like they probably do like stunt choreographing for it, but still, when you're watching it, you're like,
you take some shots. But you know what was great about, since you brought up Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman was always a favorite of mine. So he played the father of the kid that I fight. One of the kids that I killed, and the other one I fight. He's the father. He's also his trainer. So he's in the ring. I didn't have scenes with him until, we were in the same ring. He's across the ring. Yeah. And there was a moment where I kind of fight. I do something dirty. I think I hit him after the bell. And Gene Hackman ran across the ring to, complain to the ref. When I saw him jump in the ring, I took that moment I went towards him. I said, this is my moment to have my scene with him. I just ran over and I got in his face like, what are you gonna do? What are you? Just anything, just to get in the frame with Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That was great.
You gotta put that on a reel, right? You gotta do something. You gotta be like,
right. That's funny.
Oh man. And then I wanted to ask you about Traffic, because I think Traffic is one of the best movies. And I wanted to ask you, when you did that like give you a big bump in your career? Because everybody loved that movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, not as big as I would like. I mean, but it was a good time because it was it won a bunch of Oscars. It was the first time I was able to, watch the Oscars and cheer for a movie that I was in and actually is winning. And we didn't get the big one though. That was disappointing. What was that movie? They just
was it The Gladiator?
Yeah, Gladiator is the one. They have a sequel now to that. So yes, a Gladiator one. But that was it. Yeah, that was just great. It was, you know what it did? It really, because I directed a film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that I shot myself, and that was because of that movie. Because I worked with Steven Soderbergh. It was the first time I worked with a director who was actually handling the camera. It was behind the camera, and saying action, cut. He was the cameraman. And I was impressed by that because it just felt like he's a real filmmaker. He's really filmmaking. He's making it himself. Yeah. And he would be in these shots. It was, like there's the scene where I'm in the pool with Benicio and, and Steven Soderbergh is in there with in the pool with us, with the camera. And there was another scene where we open a car trunk, and we're outside the trunk, but the shot was from inside the trunk. And Soderbergh was curled up in there with the camera. Again, I was impressed by that. I've never seen the director do stuff like this. So right after that, I bought a camera and I said, I'm just going to start shooting stuff. Wow. And I shot this film. I made an action adventure spy thriller.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's like an hour long. So it's like a pilot now. It's low budget, and that was my goal. I decided to, instead of making a small film with, low budget film, I challenged myself and I said, let me see how big a movie I can make with no money.
No, yeah, definitely.
Or as little money as possible. Just to see how big a movie. And I made a big, it's, like I said, it's action adventure, a spy, espionage. Yeah. It's a rescue of capture of an Al-Qaeda leader, and then the rescue of a kidnapped hostage
Oh, that's
film
awesome,
festivals.
man! Congratulations.
Thank you. Just last weekend, yeah, it won the best TV pilot out of the Urban Action Showcase in New York, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Times Square. And I wasn't able to make it because we had a storm last week, snowstorm. But one of my actors went and he picked up the award. So that was cool.
I'm so glad you said it was because of the storm and it wasn't because you had to do razor riffs.
Razor? Yeah, hey, I got it. Sorry, man.
But no, like music, I feel a lot of people also don't know this. Music in movies and TV shows, it actually does play a role in the story.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I didn't, I don't have equipment for music. All I just used my ear to decide what music and how to mix it and blend. And it recently won it also at another Indie X Film Fest. It won for best sound design.
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
like, I'm like, I don't have it. They send me a letter about, about I should be proud of my sound department. It was just me and my,
I'm proud of myself.
That's not a whole department. So, so that was cool. I didn't anticipate winning any awards for sound, but that was great.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you, I'm going to totally butcher this person's name, and I don't mean to, but Raw Julia. Did I say it right?
Raul.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raul.
I know him from the Addams Family and Street Fighter, but you did a film with him, and I thought, like, I remember growing up, I thought, oh my God, this guy's just so talented. So like, how is that when you're acting, when you're working with like legends? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was very just great. It's interesting to be with him. Doing a scene with him. I had this really strong scene I had to do with him, and where I arrest him, and he was fun, and he was great because we were able to play with it beforehand, and he was like, yeah, he liked me getting in his face, said, yeah, really come back at me, yeah. I loved it. Because it gave him a lot even more to play with. So, but when you work with people like that, it's cliche, but you kind of you do get better because they're so great. It makes it easier, I was always a big fan. He's Puerto Rican. He's an actor. He's out of New York and Puerto Rico, and he did Broadway and all that. So I was aware of him. And so when I worked with him, it was like
dog. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. I have 5 dogs, so don't worry.
No, he's just going crazy.
That's fine.
I do apologize.
Oh, don't worry. So Raul, yeah, he was. I was always a huge fan of his already, and so when I acted with him, it was almost like acting with a family member.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd speak half in English, half in Spanish, and so that was like I was acting with an uncle, not just another actor.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And we got to spend time, and we were in Cuernavaca, Mexico, shooting down there. And we were in this villa, this hacienda that had a tennis court, and he played tennis, and I had played tennis in high school. So we that's what we did on our days off.
Yeah.
Those were great days, great times.
No, yeah, but like I totally agree with you because like I'm in the same way. I like, I interview people and I do stand up, but I feel everyone who I interview and everyone who I do shows with, I learn something to be a better interviewer, better stand up. So I feel like that's the same with acting, where like even though you're doing your thing, even when you're working with somebody, like nothing is unteachable. You only could learn more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Absolutely.
that's a big skill that I feel a lot of people don't really notice or character
hmm
notice, you know.
Well, I noticed your skill as a comedian. Before I go further, I did get to watch your stand up.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. Well, I said I got to see, and man, you're funny. You have great material.
Oh,
And then I did listen to. I love your opening joke about three. What is it? Two and a half men.
oh, thank you.
You have a lot of great lines. And then I listened to your interview with Paul Reiser. He made that funny he had a funny line when you said that you work with people like Norm Macdonald
I
and
know.
Bob Saget.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "Oh, you open for comedians who have passed, and that's going to be tough." So,
Yeah, yeah. That's where I'm
but
at in my career, unfortunately.
really,
Yeah.
well, I got to tell you, man, you're really good. And then when you had mentioned Norm Macdonald, now is it just me or do I hear a little bit of him in your delivery, in your
Maybe. I mean,
cadence?
I do get that a lot, but I mean, I
It's you.
toured.
It's not exactly like it, but I do hear something. I'm like, yeah, like you said, he's like your dad. Well, he's like, yeah, you're an
No,
offspring.
yeah, he was my comedy dad. He taught me everything I know about comedy. You know, he gave me my entire career, which I don't have a career, but he gave me everything that you know what I mean? So I even have a tattoo of a microphone right here for him for his honor.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so like I do get that a lot. And you know, just when you work with somebody, like I was saying before, you pick up mannerisms and skills, you know, so
hmm
that's probably where that comes from, you
hmm
know.
Well,
But
he was brilliant.
yeah.
I spent a lot of time watching his old YouTube, his compilations of all his wisecracks and him on with Conan O'Brien. And
So you
he's
don't remember meeting him in the stand-up days?
no,
Oh
no,
my God.
no. I may have. I mean, I wonder if it was at the Improv in L.A. because there I met a lot of people
Yeah.
going through there. But
Well, just so you know, he thought you were
wow,
fantastic.
well, that's amazing. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Thank
maybe
you.
you should go back into stand-up, put some material on so I could watch it. I would love to
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
that would be great. Yeah, that
so
would be. So what else?
Eddie, I want to respect your time, but I have three more quick
I'm good. I'm
questions.
good. I'm good on time.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Take your time.
So I wanted
Yes.
to ask you about White Chicks because I feel White Chicks is one of the best comedies ever. And I feel it's also a movie that people can't really make today. And I wanted to ask you, like, when you got that role, was it because, like you said, you were friends with Kenan growing up, or did you audition, or how was that like? And then, did you know that it was going to be like such a? Because it's also a cult classic movie, but it
Right.
also did very well. Like it was
Yeah.
pretty good, you know.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because it's a good question because I did audition for it. Um, I went in. The casting director called me in for the role. She didn't know that I knew Keenan. Keenan didn't know that she was calling me in.
Right.
And I remember sitting in the waiting room, and there was another actor in there, and I could hear his audition, and I could hear that he wasn't doing the lines. He was improvising. Doing a lot of improv and ad libbing, and I thought, Keenan, they wrote this. They want to hear their lines. They don't
Right.
want. So so I made sure that I was not going to go in there and ad. I'm going to do their script. Let them hear their lines. And the guy was chit chatting a lot with the casting director, and then they wrapped up, and then I went in. Well, I went in. I didn't do any chit chatting. I just wanted to do the scene because I thought it was funny. Let's just do it. I did it. I did it exactly as written. She laughed, and I left. Again, no chit chat. I just left. And before I got home, my agent called me and said that you have a call back. She wants you to bring you in to meet with Kenan.
Oh, nice. And then you just came in and you said, "What's up, buddy?"
What's up? And he was like, Eddie. He didn't know I was coming in. He's like, Eddie, what's up? And the casting director was like, "What? What's happening? You know him? You know each? Oh yeah, And then Kenan explained. But again, what happened was I decided I did not want to get the role because I knew Kenan.
Yeah.
Because at that point, everybody knows Kenan, right? So I wanted to go in and audition and get the role,
right?
Because I knew I could do it. I was like, so that's what I did. So we reminisced a little bit in the audition in the room. Marlon and Sean were there, and Kenan, and then I just went in. Then settled down, and I went into the scene. I did it as written. Sean and Marlon were cracking up. They didn't really, they were little kids, babies when I knew Kenan. So they didn't really know me until now. So they knew me as an adult.
Yeah.
And I went in and they were really more in charge. Maybe, I don't know, but again, before I got home, I had the role.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I felt so much better having auditioned and gotten it that way, as opposed to just, because I'm someone's friend.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Right?
But it'd be kind of cool if you just didn't have to audition and use the friend card, right? Because auditioning is stressful. I mean, I've done a few auditions, and like I think I'm the worst auditioner in the world, because like in the moment, it's really hard to capture a moment, because I feel if you're auditioning for something, you need that perfect moment. And sometimes I feel kind of rushed, because it's like, oh, they have to see 40 other people or something. You know what I mean? So I don't have enough time to actually capture the moment I want to display.
Yes. Now, are you still going into rooms to audition, or are you doing self-taping, or how are you doing it?
My last audition, Eddie, I gotta be honest, was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and that was on Zoom. But but like I said, man, when you do stand up, you kind of I'm on the path where maybe someone will like my stand up like Eddie, and they'll be like, "Hey, we have a role for you," and I'd be like, "Oh, excellent! And what's the role? Just be a stand up."
We got the scene where you stand up. Yeah, well, just keep it, man. You never know where it could be right around the corner, and you could be on a sitcom just like that.
Yeah.
Why not? And you could be even the lead just like that.
Yeah. I would want you to be my trusty sidekick, though, so we could go to Roswell and make fun of everyone at Roswell.
Get to the bottom of what's happening there.
Yeah. So my second to last question is, because we never really got an answer, and I feel I owe it to the Rifters. I call my listeners the Rifters, right? Eddie, who would you rather do, Pam Anderson and Carmen Electra? But they have a yeast infection.
Oh man, I can't. I can't. You can't. Oh, I gotta go.
There's no time.
There's no time. I tell you, but oh man, I know that was we were coming up with all kinds of on the set variations. Betty or Wilma, just whatever. Just would be like, Betty Rubble.
But the funniest is that Lachlan always answered and you never did. So
I set him up. Yeah. I know. We had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, I wanted to ask you, what is your biggest fear that you have as an actor when you were starting out, and do you still have that fear?
As an actor, you mean while performing, or
Yeah,
work.
like maybe you fear that you won't be able to pull off this character, and then in the moment when you're doing it, you
Mm,
feel like maybe it's not that good, even though you got the job, and
mhm,
you're living in that fear. Does that make
mhm.
sense?
Yeah, I haven't had any, not fear, I guess. You know, it's interesting. When I think back to my auditions, there aren't many, or if any, that where felt I wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
You know, you walk in, you got those nerves, and you're just trying to get good at hiding the nerves or pushing them down or using them. And I just found that never quite went away for me. And I think basically I'm a shy person. I always was. I was never one to seek the limelight, wanting to be the center of attention.
Right.
But then, you know, now you become an actor, and then you have to do that. You have to go in and be the center of attention, and not look like you don't like being there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I always had to deal with that. Basically every audition. So you kind of, you know, you cheer yourself on. I remember when when I booked like 9 series at this point. I've been on 7 series, and then 2 other pilots, and every time I went in, you know, you go through this process. You get the casting director, then they bring you to the producers, and then they bring you to the network. And man, when you get to the network and you're about to walk in, and this is it. At that time, they used to make you sign the contract before you went in.
NDAs, yeah.
No, not NDA, the contract.
Oh, okay.
That's for 7 years. You sign a contract for 7 years
Yeah.
before you go in to for the final audition at this network. But I remember standing outside outside the door and talking to myself and saying, you know, all that theater you did, everything you've done to this point has brought you to this, you know, to this point where you're about to walk in. So just relax and let your instincts take over, you know, and your your memory. You just trust yourself at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Now you've been doing comedy for how long?
23 years.
23 years. Well,
Yeah.
you could go in and like, how do you, how do you feel like, you know, if you had to go on with any, what are the top, well, Colbert or
Uh,
with Col,
Oh, I could totally do it.
right?
I don't, so with stand up, I don't have any fear doing stand up because I I'm pretty good at talking one on one. And when I do stand up, I just imagine I'm talking to somebody one on one instead of talking to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like imagination is probably the best tool in my that I have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and like usually I just imagine it's my grandfather or Norm or somebody who I'm just myself with, and I don't really care if I do well or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's the goal, to get to that state where you can don't care, and then you're relaxed, and
Yeah.
then you're great. But I want to see us. I want to see big things for
Oh,
you. I want to see you, you know, on a show. Simple.
oh,
I
that'd be
really do.
great.
I want to say that's. I'm gonna tell my wife that's the guy who interviewed me. Look at him. He's on
Oh,
top of the world.
well, maybe we'll do White Chicks 3 together.
White chicks, yeah. I was thinking, you know, how could, because they was, yeah, because I think I saw Marlon saying, yeah, they can't really make that movie today. So I thought that maybe they should just do black chicks. It's just
Yeah,
kind
yeah, I was
of,
thinking that, but then
they
I
could
was
do,
like, maybe I don't want to pitch that idea.
they could, yeah. Or they could do old chicks, or you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or white dudes, or I
white
don't know.
dude. Oh, there you go, white
Right?
dudes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for talking with me. It was a real
Oh,
honor to meet you. And,
oh, my pleasure.
thank you for being my best friend for 45 minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for, setting this up. My pleasure. And this is my first podcast, so always
Really?
first. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Thank you so much for saying yes.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
We'll have you back. And if you're ever in Los Angeles, let's hang out. We'll buy chicken together.
Awesome.
All right.
Hey, that'd be great. I have your number. So,
All right. Bye, Eddie. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Take care, buddy.
All right.